Hey guys, how's it going? Can you all hear me?
Committee meeting. I'd like to call this regular meeting to order, and today is September 17th, 2025. The time is 6:31. At this time, I'll call roll, and please confirm your attendance. Nan Buckner is out. Teresa Jarmas. Here. Mac Plummer.
Here.
Shannon Reagan Quidley. Here. Tony Rich is on Zoom.
Yep.
Okay. Carson Seville is here, and Julie Shannon.
Here.
All right. For the record, no, I'm sorry, Pledge of Allegiance. Let's stand and rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay, our next item is approval of the meeting agenda. Emily, would you like to?
I'd like to add a quick staff update before item A,
Okay.
discussion on Cambridge High School homecoming parade.
Okay. Just going to do that as item A1. We don't need to vote on that, do we?
Not to add it, but to approve it as amended.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve adding item A1 for updated staff?
Motion. Approved.
Got a motion from
Second.
Ms. Shannon and a second from Mac. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That is passed. All right, next item is the approval of the past meeting minutes. Can I get a motion and approval for the past meeting minutes for the Equestrian Committee?
Motion.
Approved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
past meeting minutes are approved. Emily, do we have any general public comment?
We do not have any general public comment, but we will have a comment on item 6A.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read this just for the record then. General public comment is a time for citizens to share information with MEC and provide input on the opinions on any matter that is scheduled on tonight's agenda. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card, submit it to the city liaison per the agenda item being called. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name, address, and for the record. You'll have 5 minutes for remarks, and the city encourages you to review the agenda, and if you wish to speak, bring your comment card to the city liaison now. If you wish to speak on a specific item that is on tonight's agenda, then please wait until public comment is called for that item. Okay. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump to staff updates. So Emily.
Super. Thank you. Today we have Jesse, who is here from the Cambridge High School Ag program. Cambridge High School has their homecoming parade this coming Monday. And I believe the trailer that they were planning to use is busted. Okay.
Oh, man.
Even worse. I believe the parade starts at 5 p.m. The lineup is at 4:30 and it should be over by 6. We're here today to see if any of you guys are available who have a 10-foot trailer that they would put hay bales in and ride in for the parade. Jesse does have a truck that is able to haul a trailer of that size, or if you would feel more comfortable to potentially drive your trailer or trailer it yourself, up to you. Did I miss anything? Nailed it.
I would 100% give you one, but Cambridge football's using mine already.
I don't have one.
Do you have one?
I have one. I don't know how long it is, but it fits my side by side. It might be
It's
long
10
enough.
foot then.
Yeah. I mean, it's got the
I've got a
ramp,
12-foot trailer.
the
You
ramp
guys
on
are
the
welcome to
back What did he say?
I've
That
got a
was
trailer,
Tony.
guys. It's 12 feet. It's like 6 by 12, 5 by 12. So it may not be big enough, but you're welcome to it if it'll work.
I think Tony's got one too.
Yeah, so gonna figure out how to get our contact and see if you think it'll work. Okay.
So Jesse, I'll send an email to Jen, including Mac and Tony as well, connecting you guys to figure out logistics and planning. Perfect. Thanks, everybody. That's it
No
for me.
problem.
That was easy. Okay, we're going to go to item A2 now. As a discussion on large lot incentives. And we're going to invite Miss Diana Wheeler up.
Good evening, members of the committee. You recall this is a project that is ongoing for the last several months about large lot incentives for the city of Milton. And tonight, we are looking at access options for large lots. We had looked at previous items. We'll go over those real briefly. And then some ideas that we got from the board we want to discuss this evening. And then if there are any other items for discussion, we certainly want to hear to try to see if we can wrap up tonight what our ultimate recommendations will be to the city council.
Committee, don't forget to turn your monitors on. It's that button to the far right.
We have discussed the 9 items that you see that have been checkmarked. We've gone through those, discussed those, and identified which ones were worth pursuing, which ones we didn't feel warranted further discussion. And there was one at the bottom of the list, which we sort of touched on last time, and the committee wanted additional information. So we have that for you this evening. And that item has to do with more access options for lots of 3 acres or greater. Right now, if you recall, the code says that when land is subdivided, the driveway access points cannot be increased more than the number that are already there, which means if you have like a 10-acre lot with 1 house on it, it's 1 driveway, even if the lot is subdivided. What we're proposing is that we keep that language, but then provide an exception for all new lots that are 3 acres or greater in size. Public Works may allow each large lot individual access. And so what that would look like is something like this. On the left, you have the existing regulation. We've got a 10-acre parcel subdivided into 3 lots. And there can only be 1 access right now. And so they basically have an internal road within that 10 acres to accommodate the 3 homes. The proposal would essentially create the opportunity to do what you see with those yellow houses on the right, just individual access points for each home. Obviously, this provides more flexibility. In this scenario, we show a corner property, so one of the homes could have access on a different street. That provides flexibility not just for the home configuration and layout, but maybe the topography, possibly the environmental factors, if there are specimen trees or other things. And you'll also notice that there is a whole lot less asphalt in the picture on the right than on the left. So maybe more trees are saved. There's less impact to the environment with the picture on the right than what you see on the left. And that's really the benefit of allowing individual access points as opposed to just maintaining the 1. Any questions? Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I've got a question. So on Freemanville Road, I drive by these every morning on the way to work. There's 3 different properties that have sold the front pasture and they're building houses on there. And I know all 3 have different driveways than the homeowner that lives behind that house, the newly built house. I'm confused on how they put did they just get a variance, I guess?
I don't know that they got a variance. I don't recall a variance, but remember the regulation says you can't have more access points than you had to begin with. It's possible that that particular piece of property had more than 1 access because over the years, if it's an older piece of property, they may have had a driveway to the barn, a driveway to the house, a driveway to some other accessory structure. If they had 3 driveways, they could keep 3 driveways after they subdivided. But I don't know the specifics of that particular piece of property.
Yeah. I don't know how anybody would subdivide then. You know, if, like all three of those, you still have the main access driveway, but then they put a new gated driveway in the front pasture for the new lot.
Did they create a flag lot?
No, it's somebody that owns a pasture in front, their house sits in the back, long driveway down the side of the property, and then they sell the front 5 acres, let's call it. And now there's a new house being built, which I don't know why anybody want a house in their front yard, but all three of them have done it right there. And there's a new access driveway for each one.
And this is Freemanville where, like at Red Road or?
Right past Deer Haven
Oh, okay, it's further north.
on the right, if you're going
Okay.
south towards City Hall. So
Oh, it's near Dinsmore?
past Dinsmore, there's no other big landmark right there.
The gated white columns in
You
relation.
pass gated white columns and then is it Deer Haven with the big, huge buck out
Right.
front? That's the next neighborhood. And it's like 2 houses down south of that.
Right.
So if
Beautiful.
that's if you're traveling south, it's on the
Yes, ma'am.
right-hand side?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
all right. Well, I can look into it and see if I can come up with an explanation. I'm not familiar with that specific situation, so, but I can certainly investigate and give you an answer to that.
I mean, we love what they did with the property. I mean, it's a nice big lot. The guy's he did a great job. I'm trying to wrap my head around that because they built one and it's done. And then the next lot is getting built right now that just
Like
sold.
literally 3 of them, I think.
It's like, yeah.
And they're,
And they each have an entrance off of
I will
Freemanville.
tell you, across the street, they're sharing that driveway with the house that did the third house that has done this, but they are sharing a driveway. But the first 2 on the right, I'm positive they're separate driveways because you can see the original homeowner's driveway coming around. Not to get them in trouble, I just curious, you know?
So using that as an example, do you feel that having those 3 driveways is objectionable over what's across the street where they're sharing a driveway? Does that somehow do something that is, less desirable?
I mean, I think we as a committee need to think about which one of these 2 would benefit the community better, and improve the large lots. Is it the way it is now? It sounds like it's tough to subdivide. You only have 1 driveway.
Mhm.
I don't know if we want to change it. That's why I was just asking to get clarity on it because I felt like I was missing something.
Now, understand that the access does not affect density. If you can divide a 10-acre parcel into 3 lots, that will happen whether there's 1 driveway or 3 driveways.
So on the blue houses, I guess they have an easement through the middle
Yes,
property?
they share an access easement.
Not as attractive.
Yeah. I would, y'all have anything on this?
Well, not as attractive, but I do like her point that there's less asphalt and more trees. So if
Yeah.
you're going to have the homes there anyway.
It
don't you want
depends
more
on,
trees?
it depends. If you're on the road and all you see is 1 driveway and they have a buffer there,
But they
like-
don't necessarily have to have a buffer.
they don't, but I'm saying, I'm not sure that you actually have more trees in either situation. You're still building 3 homes. And you might have only 1 driveway to those 3 houses if you're driving down the road, whereas if you do it this other way, you have 3 driveways to look at, which, so it's 6 half dozen, one or the other, but
Right.
if there was a tree line there on that 1 driveway, that would be a better view shed than seeing 1 driveway after another driveway after another driveway and have them all be manicured lots. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe we send some examples and we might have a special called meeting before council next month. So maybe we send some examples and get some more clarity on this so that we can all wrap our heads around it. Because I'm kind of with Shannon. It's multiple driveways like that is not,
Well, it just lends big properties to be subdivided.
yeah.
That's all. You're just making it easier
Mhm.
for developers to subdivide large pieces of property if you're going to give them multiple opportunities to
But they're
create
gonna subdivide them
driveways.
anyway.
Let's
so
think
it's just a
about this.
matter of
If,
does it
if
make
the
a difference?
existing, if you can't get a driveway to that left house, there's a
Yeah.
ditch. Well, then that lot's going to stay bigger because you can't get a driveway from a single one into there versus the orange ones. You might have an easy route from all the other ways and it would be a road to easily subdivide it.
Correct.
I mean, if I had to
Or
vote
creek.
today, I'd say I'd just soon keep it the way it is and not have this extra thing as an opportunity for developers to develop large pieces of property. That'd just be my personal intuition on it.
No. Yep.
Is that
I don't know. I've got
the majority of the
feelings about
board? Because we've had other things that we've discussed, and the majority of the board felt like that was one you wanted to pass on with regard to recommendations.
I'd like to, if possible, table it till we can talk about it again for council. Is that okay? I want to make sure I fully understand the existing regulation because you just see so many that get subdivided and then put multiple houses on with different driveways. So I want to make sure
I
we
see
understand.
multiple driveways pop up all the time, guys. I think we need some real clarification on this.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you
He
said.
said he sees those multiple driveways all the time and wanted some clarification too. And we could maybe get you a list tomorrow morning or Monday morning.
Of properties?
Yeah, that have that we drive by each day. Like, I'll tell you another great example. Right before you get to the Union at the right roundabout, same road, that property, that guy used to have a house and an old barn, and they split it into 6 lots. And now there's 6 different houses going in with different driveways. That's a great example because each one, the end of that old house is still there with the driveway, but now there's 3 new houses getting built, and then someone's going to build on the old house too. So now we've got 4 driveways on one large lot, essentially doing the orange thing right now. Is that?
And that's fine. If you don't support it, that's part of your recommendation. You know, there are
Yeah.
other things that you also did not support. If this is one of them, we will tell the council that you considered it and felt like that wasn't necessarily in the city's best interest to have more driveways, if that's the way that you want to pursue this.
Are y'all familiar with the one I'm talking about though, next to the Union? Right before you get to the roundabout on the right, there's 4 new houses. One of them has like,
You're talking on Providence?
no, coming down Freemanville, and you're about to get to the
Oh, yeah,
Union.
on Freemanville, yeah.
And before you get to the roundabout at the Union, and Posey Farms is right across the street, there's 4 houses. There's a big house, the retention pond on the right, the original house, which is a little 2-bedroom house, and then there's 2 driveways cut in for the new houses.
It's on the right-hand side as you're
ma'am.
going south. Can you imagine what that would have been like if there was one driveway and then over that topography, they tried to create a driveway to access all of them?
But that's my concern is right now it says the existing requires that, but that's not what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Isn't
They're
the
already
point-
doing, I think the
Orange.
proposed regulation is already enacted.
but I don't think that was one lot that was subdivided. I think those were individual lots to begin with.
So they've got it rezoned into, no,
I
that'd
think
still
those
be
were
separate.
No,
Lot
they were
2 acre.
individual
I
lots.
think they were.
I think
They were platted
individual
as separate
2 acre.
parcels, because I remember when they were for sale,
Yeah.
and those 2 on the corner were individually for sale. They were already platted as separate lots. They weren't subdivided.
Well, even if we just said that the new big house and next to the original owner's house, there's definitely a separate driveway there just for that. We know that's the same lot because that's where his barn was. And then he had the house up on the hill. And so they still split that into 2 lots, I assume. Because it looks like they've got it roped off now to demolish the house and build a house there. Let's just look at some examples, I think, maybe. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of confusion on this.
Well, we'll present those. Our next step is the city council work session, and we'll just present those there and explain the situation and let them know that this was something that caused concern.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we can work on it in the next few weeks individually too.
absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So now let's go to some ideas that you all brought forward. Neighbor notification, the first one. When a large lot requests subdivision into smaller parcels, developer must send a letter to every property owner directly adjoining the development. So would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. So the idea here would be, let's say we have a 10-acre lot. Let's say on one side, there's a neighborhood with 10 lots that touch it. And then we got a horse farm to the north and 2 5-acre lots on the west. Builder is going to divide that lot up into small lots. They need to be required, instead of just relying on citizens, this would benefit everybody in the community. Instead of relying on citizens to drive by and see a sign in the ground, write down the meeting time and look at the agenda and the developer would send a letter or turn in letters addressed to all of those touching property, adjoining properties, stamped and addressed at City Hall, that the mail could pick up from City Hall at no cost and would go out to all those homeowners. So then they've got a letter showing, okay, we're doing this development in your backyard. Here's all the meetings, the BZA meeting, the zoning meeting. Here's the date, the time, and the agenda for them, or it'll be on the agenda that night. And that way you have people that are informed and can come speak at these meetings if it's clearly going to impact their property and the value of their property. I think everyone in the city would be on board with this, because nobody wants to wake up one day and see every tree in their backyard bulldozed.
So when would this letter go out? At what stage in the development?
Once you get your site plan and concept plan, and you have your meetings set for BZA, whatever meetings they have to go through. So they'd obviously have to go to planning and zoning, BZA potentially. Any meetings for the development would just be listed on there. And, maybe we section it out if there's a big gap between meetings. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, this is not costly for the developer, and it's not a huge hindrance for them. It's just some extra paperwork, but it lets the citizens know, who are now going to be living with staring into people's kitchens out of their kitchen window.
Now, the city normally does that.
That's what I was going to say. We actually do. We have a limit, 500 feet around that development. We have to send out the letters. 500 feet or minimum 775 residents. That's the limit. We send out letters with the date. And that's usually the planning commission meeting, the council meeting.
And that's for the preliminary plat. Before the preliminary plat is approved, when they have enough information so everybody can understand what the plan is, the city will send out a letter to inform the community and also post a sign. So that's the first time people become aware or have the opportunity to become aware. But I got the impression that maybe you were thinking even before that the builder would send out letters. Was that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I mean, my goal here, like when we used to put zoning signs up, if you weren't driving by there, you had no idea. This is a separate city, but you just had to be in the area and notice it and then stop and write down the meeting days. Now, if the city's already doing this, then that solves the problem, but I've just never heard of it.
One thing that we had suggested was a coming soon sign that includes the map, just so that people who are in the area can become aware of it as soon as something is known, even before the preliminary plat. That might be one option as well.
Shuba, what all does that letter contain? Is it like just there'll be a development coming, this meeting's on this date?
It will be discussed at the planning commission meeting, this date, this time, just like an advertisement. This is the development.
And when you say
with-
500 feet, is that from the edge of the
From the
property line?
border of that property, 500 feet outside. Or minimum 775 residents. That's a limit. So we do send out letters.
Okay.
And it's not really rezoning. Even though these are by right, we do send out these letters. And the sign is huge. It's
I know it
4 feet
is,
by
yeah.
4 feet sign.
Well, that's good. I mean, if we're already doing it, that's great.
All right.
I like the proposed map idea though. Just so you get an idea for what it is instead of just all the technical, this date, this time.
Yeah.
I think it'd be nice
Yeah, I
Something
think
like
the objective is to try to inform people so that they don't call and ask the
Yeah, and I
questions.
think if it's a simple map, somebody like, I mean, my wife, well, anyway, would just walk by and say, oh, okay, it's not bad, instead of what are they doing now?
A lot of zoning signs are tough to read what's really going on.
That's right.
It could be nothing, it could be something huge. And it might just look like, well, this is just going from AG1 to R1. Like, that doesn't tell you much. So I agree with Mac. I like that idea.
The map. include
Carson, I have a
that.
question. Can you hear me?
Did Tony say
Him
something?
up.
Brian.
Go ahead, Tony.
Can you
loud,
guys hear
Tony.
me? I have a question for you, Carson.
Go ahead.
What's the purpose of the letter? Is it to just let people know what's coming, like Diana's sign idea with coming soon? Or is it to give people the opportunity to raise concern and potentially
Both.
like create a change or stop it? Or, I mean, is the point just to say, hey, here's what you're gonna have to deal with, sorry? Or is it to actually give people the opportunity to raise red flags and concerns?
Did you hear all that?
So
No, I
this is an opportunity for them to come and voice their concerns at the planning commission meeting. However, these most of the time are not rezoning, so they are by right developments. But there could be some things that can be like some comments can be accommodated, like there is some buffer or landscaping issues that the planning commission listens to and forwards those comments to council. So there is some feedback that's always taken, but you can't really like say that we don't want this because those are mostly by right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of planning commission meetings that I think people come speak to is when there's something that's really going to affect the value of their property or their way of life. Let me ask you another question, but are these letters sent out only when a planning commission meeting is triggered for the property, or is it any development?
It's a preliminary plat. That means the one that are not
Yeah,
big
yeah.
large lot development. These are 1 acre lots.
But it
and-
would, even if there's no meetings, the letter's sent out. If we take 20 acres and take it into 1 acre lots, the letter's going to be sent to all the 500 foot.
Only when there is a set meeting, because we have to
That's
give
my
them
question.
information where they can come and
Right.
talk about it. We can't just say, oh, it's coming,
Right. But essentially, if they're subdividing 20 acres into 1 acre lots, there's going to have to be a zoning meeting.
No, it's
No?
not a zoning, it's just a information for them. It's not really a zoning, meeting. It's a planning commission meeting.
It's a
'Cause
preliminary
we're all-
plat
Yeah,
approval.
because it's all AG1 out here, right?
Yes.
It's a
the problem. They're not
preliminary
going to
plat
R1.
meeting.
That's what I used to, okay. There's the problem. So there might not be a meeting.
No, there always be a meeting to discuss. They have to, the process
A public
requires them to have a public hearing at planning commission, one public hearing at planning commission for every preliminary plat, which means every subdivision that has
Okay.
minimum 1 acre lots.
Could
So
you
it's-
send me a copy of that letter, a sample?
Yeah, the Unified Development Code requires that the preliminary plats are reviewed at a planning commission meeting. All of them.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay. All right. Any last comments on this item? We'll go on to fees. Considering adjusting fees based on parcel count. How do you all feel about a graduated fee scale? Now, understand that it would have to be, fees that would be at increments, but none of them would be no fee, because we have to charge something.
And just to clarify, are we talking impact fees or are we
No,
talking something else?
No, we're not talking impact fees. We're going to talk about that coming up. But this would be permit fees, land development fees. Essentially, when somebody wants to get a land disturbance permit in order to grade and put in the infrastructure for a new subdivision, my understanding of what this is that if it is a subdivision where we have 3 acre or greater lots, then the fees would be less than a subdivision with lots that are less than 3 acres.
I support that.
Yeah.
I just wonder if it actually matters.
Well, I guess is the numerical amount of,
That's what I mean.
if we're talking
There's
the
going to
1
add
acre
it to the
lots pay
price of the lot.
$350, I mean,
Yeah.
that's not, I mean, the extremely high, we can remove the impact word out of that then from that question I just asked, but I'm with Mac. It would have to be a substantial fee. to make
Now,
any
this,
kind of
again,
change.
this is not impact fee. That's
I know, that's what I
separate,
was
yeah.
saying. We can remove, I was just looking down and saw high impact fees. You're talking permit fees.
We're talking about land development permit fees, because the individual homes get building permits, and that's something separate. But the land development is for getting the entire site ready to be built for individual homes.
Do we have any idea what our range is on that?
Well, the permit fees can range from as low as a couple $1,000s to $35,000, $40,000, depending on, the value of the work to be done. The permit fee is based on the valuation of the work. So, obviously you can have a 10-acre site that costs more to develop than a 20-acre site because a 20-acre site was a pasture and the 10-acre site, is a hillside. So there's a lot that goes into it, but the permit fee is based on valuation of the work to be done.
By staff, basically. Of staff going through hydrology and building and all the concept plan. And
Everything,
Right, is that a
everything
safe way to say it?
associated with getting the land to go from raw land
Right.
to pad-ready buildable sites.
So I think the question's, could you increase those fees based on the lot size? Instead of just how much time it takes to review the permit.
This is, part of the question is a legal question as well, because we have to be able to justify the expense associated with the fee, right? The staff work. So we would certainly want to get some legal input on that. But the concept, if this is a concept that you want to recommend, then we can certainly bring that forward to the council and say, how do you like the idea of incentivizing large lot through land development fees, where the large lots get a break, and the smaller lots, have to pay whatever the going rate is.
Yeah, and I definitely would suggest we have city attorney A-OK all these. I mean, I'm sure they're going to do that, but none
Okay,
of these we're planning on having, just putting into place. That he would need to review all these in detail because we definitely don't want any liability piece of it. But I like that idea.
I like it because currently a pasture has cheaper fees to develop than a woods because it's going to have less impact and less problems to navigate for the staff. And we're trying to keep pastures. So I like the fact that the size matters.
I agree.
okay. All right, well, we'll put something together for that then. Now we talk about impact fees. Impact fees are completely a different animal than city fees because the impact fees are regulated by state law. When a city has impact fees, they can only be assessed for certain things, and in the city of Milton, they're assessed for transportation, parks and recreation, and public safety. So those 3 impact fees are collected, and they're collected when a building permit is issued. So it's for the house, not for the subdivision. So necessarily, regardless, if you've got a 10-acre site that has one house, they will pay just under $11,000 in impact fees when they get a permit to build a house. If they've got a 10-acre site with 10 houses, they'll pay 10 times as much because the impact is 10 times as much. So the impact is already figured into the fee structure, what each house contributes to the impact on city services for those three things. So we don't really have the option of creating a different structure for large lots or small lots, because the impact is not created by the size of the lot, it's created by the number of houses. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
we might have to stay away from this one. And I think they just increased the impact fee
Yeah,
anyway.
at the beginning of the year, they went up. That's right. Environmental review. Subdivisions with 1 acre lots should require a third-party environmental impact survey to ensure protected species are not disturbed. How do you all feel about that? Essentially making it a little bit more onerous to do the 1 acre versus the 3 acres.
I mean, I support anything that makes it more cumbersome for developers. I'll
I mean,
just
I'd
say
love
it.
to see it. Go ahead, sorry.
I said, I'll just say it.
Oh, I'd love to see like a heritage tree thing, you know, like you got a 100-year-old oak tree. Move it. No, you can't just go replace it with 10 tiny.
Well, they have to do, everybody has to do a tree survey.
I know that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been through this. But there's no limit. Like you can cut the whole place down if you want and just go pay the recompense.
No, there's a certain number you're supposed to keep on site.
There is a canopy minimum. You're right.
If there are mitigating circumstances, there are some opportunities to do some other things, but, usually 25% has to be retained.
Yeah, but going back to the environmental piece, I mean, like you said, this is just something to add to the list. Now, this would be specific to 1 acre lots,
Right.
right? The whole thing.
I like it.
Yeah, that's a
We just need some detail. on what's-
de-incentive. That's all
Yeah,
that
that's
is.
what it is. Yeah, I mean, all these are technically de-incentives.
Okay, so you want to move forward with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could blend it in even to like runoff and stormwater or something and see if, I don't know, we're gonna have to get creative on it, but look at it as a way to protect the city from stormwater runoff.
Okay,
No, if that would help. Make a little more sense.
all right.
Okay.
Move on to small lot developments should be required to include sidewalks and front entrance gates. Now, the sidewalks are required, but the front entrance gates are not required. So that's something to think about. And it speaks to sort of the character of the community. So what do entrance gates signify? Well, it depends on how you think of them. In some communities, they sort of give off a message that, this is an area where we're concerned about crime. That may not be the case in Milton. It may be this is an area that's very exclusive. In any case, when the gate is there, it sort of says we're kind of not really part of the community. We're sort of separate and distinct in a way, closed ourselves off. So there's a message there, because it really, in Milton, where crime is not an issue, it really speaks to aesthetics and the message that you want to convey to the neighbors. If every subdivision had a gate, how would that look and how would that feel for the community? And those are things to think about.
I think a large part of them do.
I'm sorry?
A large amount of them do have gates, I think.
The farms
They do.
have gates.
The farms have gates, yeah.
But if we required it, they would all have gates.
Right.
It's also
This is a deep.
functionally not all that practical in the sense that
No, they're expensive.
when you have a gate, the road necessarily becomes private, which means everybody in that subdivision owns that road and they have to pay to maintain it. You know, there are a lot of subdivisions where folks really can't afford to do that, or they don't have the means to do that. It also cuts off public access and circulation. Everything becomes a dead end. So from a cost perspective, it makes it tougher in a community. And I've seen a number of these in other cities where they're gated subdivisions. They just leave the gates open all the time because it's sometimes hard to manage, but certainly an expense for all of the people who live in that subdivision, as opposed to taxpayer-funded maintenance and repair.
But I kind of think maybe that's our goal.
I support this
Yeah. We're
idea.
trying to make it harder for developers to come in, and that's, I mean, that's expensive for them, yeah. It's going to raise the HOA fees too.
Right.
So,
Which means you'll have a more exclusive subdivision built.
I think some people see it as a value added. A lot of people I know that live in gated communities, I mean, not an issue for
they want to
them.
be there, yeah.
I'm thinking of it from city aspect. If that HOA has to maintain that road, that's one less road for the city to maintain. And it's only being used by those people in the subdivision anyway. So it's not a thoroughfare. So I think the entrance gates are a great idea.
I do too.
So the majority of the board feels that way, and we will add that to the list? Okay.
That's positive.
Wildlife corridors.
We can maybe skip this one. I looked this one up a little more in detail. I'll let you talk about it, but this might be tough to require this.
Okay.
I ran it through some stuff and it was like, no, teetering on the legal side of it. But go ahead. I don't want to get too deep into this.
Well, the plan to show dedicated wildlife routes throughout the development.
Are we able to do that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how we would do that. I mean, obviously, if there are creeks and
Right.
required, creek buffers and things like that, that's where the wildlife tend to live anyway. So that will happen naturally. I think if you want to preserve wildlife routes, you have to preserve the open space, the green space, and require more buffers. That's the only way I would know to do that. But the city would almost have to have an overall map because there has to be connectivity. If you've got a wildlife corridor through one property and the next property has fences all over it, that's hard to do.
I mean, you hit on something with the green space. I mean, maybe you require a little bit larger green space. That's an idea. I don't have anything on this.
I think it would be easier to require buffers than it will be to track wildlife corridors. So if we're trying to increase the canopy or the view shed, the buffers are going to be a much better idea than trying to track wildlife corridors, because wildlife is going to go where the buffers are because that's nature and not someone's yard. So
if you increased the required buffers by a certain amount to accommodate wildlife corridors as a
you
basis.
could, I mean, that could be your excuse for,
Well, the basis for
increasing the
asking
buffers.
for an additional
yes.
buffer. Okay. All right, can do that. Park connectivity, if the property adjoins a city-owned park, trail should be included to connect the neighborhoods to the park system. We try to do that. To the extent that we can, we always try to do that, just because it doesn't make any sense for people to have to drive to the neighborhood park, which is abutting their subdivision.
Right.
So we
And is
do
it up
try
to
to
the
do that.
builder to connect to the trail?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, when the subdivision is laid out,
okay.
we look for those connections to be made. And stricter bioretention standards, stronger requirements for stormwater management. We sort of did this in reverse with the incentives by saying that everybody has these strong requirements And then we want to have flexibility for the 3-acre or greater lots. So that's kind of saying the same thing, kind of the opposite of that, the other side of that coin. Okay. Rebuild existing structures within the same footprint without requiring BZA approval. That's certainly something we can do. You know, if it's existing and maybe a burned down, but the footprint is there, or there's a foundation there, that's certainly something that we can do.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if
older
it's-
barns should be grandfathered. They are. If they're existing and they're there, they don't need any special approvals. But if it
Even
burns
if they're in the
down,
buffer though?
what's
they don't-
that?
If they're within, let's say they're 10 feet off the property line,
That's okay. If it's there.
no BZA.
No, if it exists, it's there, it can stay there. But if it were to burn down, it would have to go to the BZA. But what you're talking about here would provide that exception, and I think we can do that.
What about a demo, demolishing it or bulldozing it? Would that require a permit? Not
Yes.
I'm sorry, not a permit.
Yeah.
A meeting, a public meeting. Or
Well, the design review board looks at demolitions, so it would
Right.
have to go to the design review board.
Because that's what I think we're trying to accomplish here is if you got there's a lot of these older barns in the setback, it's got the impervious already. You're just going to take this dilapidated barn and make it nice and pretty to look at and improve the what everybody sees every day. I'd like to limit the, process on that because it's already an existing structure. We're just making it look nicer. That's great if we're able to do that.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Run-in sheds, a city could provide standardized plan for run-in sheds. This is something we discussed. I think this is something we could do. We couldn't do it without a permit, but the permit fee could be just a nominal something. The reason we require a permit is because we have to inspect. If somebody builds something, we want to make sure it doesn't blow away. It's tied down properly, anchored, all the things that you want it to be. And in order to do that in our system, it needs a permit. That's what triggers the inspections. The permit fee can be, very minor.
I think on that, the beneficial part of it is here's the plans that are approved. You don't have to get an engineer, an architect or anybody.
Right.
And then if you want it bigger, let's say you want 4 bays of it, you just multiply it times 4.
Right.
And if you follow the plans, we're going to come inspect it and it looks great and you're good to go. But you don't have to go hire all these people to build something that's sturdy enough, grounded enough, all the things. We
Right.
could probably use one from somebody that's done it in the past. I mean, instead of recreating the wheel.
Well, we certainly can use lots of examples to show people of what they look like when they're finished. So I don't think that that's really a problem. I think we can certainly accommodate that. And that is all we have for our incentives and our disincentives. And like I said, we plan on going to the council October 13th with your recommendations. We'll put them all together. And some things that are not fully resolved, that are still open questions that could go either way, depending on, some of the arguments that were made tonight. We'll certainly share those with the council and see what kind of feedback we get, whether there's support for any of these things or maybe all of these things, hopefully some of these things. And we'll be able to move forward because we already have started working on some of the potential text amendments for our code to accommodate these recommendations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all the work you and staff
Thank
put in
you.
on this. I know it's been a long road. but
It's
we really
a
appreciate
team
it.
effort, and I'm glad that you all, put so much thought, and I appreciate all the effort and the discussions. We had to go through and brainstorm all of these in order to come up with some really good ideas, and I think the council will appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Emily, do we have public comment on this?
We do. We have Greg Rathjen.
Thank you. I find myself frustrated with this as a,
Do me a name and address.
oh,
just
I'm
for
sorry,
the
Greg
record.
Rathjen, 610 Knox Hill Drive, Milton. Got to get my 1 second back. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
I find myself frustrated because we own 6.5 acres, and I'm still struggling to find any of these incentives that matter to me. And I find, as we talked about, I mentioned it last time I chatted with folks, there's some wonderful pain reduction activities here, but they're all very discrete and all very conditional on a set of circumstances that are hard pressed for this to apply to all large lots. So ultimately, you put all this pain reduction in and you get 0.0%, 2%, whatever, some very small percentage of folks who say, hey, that's great, I want to continue to be a large lot. Because I think the real incentive here is we got to come back and say, what's common about the large lots is it pays for the brand called Milton. I mean, it's part of what, and so we're just kind of, there's no incentive, there's no real reason for me to be rewarded by you other than because I'm a good citizen and I like Milton. And I think that's the frustration here is there's got to be a deeper dive into figuring out, are there ways to materially or symbolically or in some ways reward the large lot owner, and also incentives to keep him or her as a large lot owner. I think the frustration with the incentives against the developers that you were discussing today, the large lot's already gone. I mean, they're coming in and getting the 10, 3, 9, 1 acre. They don't care. They want to make money. And so they're struggling to figure out how to do this. And I can't imagine a $3,500 smart, new permit requirement is going to materially make them stop and say, well, I'm stupid, but keep your large lot and I'm not going to take it. I think it's too far gone. And so, yeah, you want to pain reduction, you want to put some obstacles to developers, fine, but that's not going to get you the larger issue of rewarding or as I heard always, this is always called, the incentives. And the incentives are stimulus, the incentives are rewards, the incentives are getting me anxious to do so. And as a marketer in marketing research and branding, in a sense, the city owes the large lot owner for the degree to which they are able to continue to claim that brand. And finally, the NBA and the WNBA are actually paying their players, and college are paying their players because they provide those abilities for those things to happen. So I don't mean that we should have huge amounts of money that comes back and says rewards me for being a large lot owner, but you could set up circumstances and ways to do that. I've been playing around with some, but I don't feel comfortable with what they could be. And so I'm not sure. I thought about setting up a certain percentage of the large lot property owner's tax could go to a fund that was designed to preserve large lots. And that fund then comes back in, and maybe at the time of sale, years down, if they continue 10 years down the road, they've made agreements to keep the property the way it is. When capital gains come in, then they're given a certain portion of that back because they have rewarded the city and delivered the city the large lot for a long period of time. I don't know if that's a doable thing, but it strikes me as something that comes back and says, oh, there's a ka-ching in here that might make me decide to stay, to keep it. It's a kind of sub-variation of the CUVA, but there needs to be maybe some new creative open space. The appearance, the open space is kind of part of the branding and treat these things differently than classic agricultural or classic ways in which we're all going with the same tools rather than coming up with something innovative and creative that would be a different way to go at it. So that's just this frustration with this. And I love the goals are admirable. The steps everyone's taken, and please reduce the pain. Please keep the developer under some kind of wraps, but also focus in on this other incentive to make a difference in the larger role for the large lot. So 29 seconds.
Nailed it.
Any
questions?
Anything else? Thank you, Greg. All right, do we have any more discussion on this? Okay. We'll move on to item B, discussion of Meet the Neighbors dates for 2026. Ms. Teresa?
Oh, I don't know that I have.
Oh, is that Emily? I'm
That was
sorry.
me. We are in the process of creating our 2026 event calendar, specifically because we go into print mode for our activities guide, which covers everything from February to August, September. And we print those in November or December. So we are ready to go. I would like to set a primary date, primary goal that we're aiming for, as well as a rain backup date that we've already established. So looking at the calendar, with us typically hitting April or May, the best weekends would either be April 18th or 25th or May 9th or 16th. I would say May 2nd, but I am out of town at a wedding, so I will not be here.
I think May gets really tricky. School,
Mm-hmm.
Mother's Day, and else it goes on in that
What was
month.
it, April 18th?
18th or 25th are going to
That
be
would
those
work
best
because
dates.
spring break would be over.
So we could always aim for April 18th as the main Meet the Neighbors date, and we could throw May 9th as the backup date. May gets tricky, but at least have it. Letting it be the backup date is not the worst idea.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
Okay, so we want to put that as just a
April
point.
18th.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Emily?
I do have one quick reminder. You probably received it about an hour before this meeting actually happened. I just sent you guys the invitation for our volunteer appreciation dinner that we do in November. So check your emails, RSVP. As our volunteer committee, we would love to have you guys there. So November 6th, hopefully we'll see you here in council chambers.
November 6th?
November 6th. 7 weeks away somehow.
What time is that?
6:30.
Oh, no, it is. All right, thank you, Emily. We will skip over new business and unfinished business since we have no items on that.
Oh, well, I'll just
Right?
update
Or
you
do we
quickly on
do?
the unfinished business.
Okay.
That we're still working on the equestrian spotlight. I spoke with Greg. Emily put me in contact with him. Oh, he's like dynamo. So he has lots of ideas
yeah.
and reviewed our little list of questions and that'll be on the agenda, like out flying before. Yeah.
That's
So
exciting.
it'll be a combination of not only interviewing people as a spotlight, barns, riders, whatever, but just different. So
That's great.
yeah.
Good job. Yeah. Anybody else got anything?
No.
All right, well, with that, if there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Ocean.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. We're adjourned.